Hello everybody, me Chris at Prom again with our Friday chat. This week, not as much content as we normally have, mainly because we still haven't got our deliveries through now because there's a bit of a conflict going on with India and Pakistan, so another excuse for them to be late as usual, I suppose, but you can't get any worse than that, can you? A bit of a war going on. So this week we have the difference between Thai type gloves, as in we've got some Fairtext ones here. If you've ever seen or had any Fairtext Twins, Windy, Thai Windy, the real one, etc., you'll know what kind of glove they are. High quality, seemingly expensive now. They never used to be. We used to supply and deal with Twins and Fairtext and Windy maybe 15-20 years ago. Since then they've doubled in price basically, so they come in all sorts of nice, you can get a massive variety of colours in both and patterns on them and all sorts, so you know what you're getting, but they're not a boxing glove as such. Now these are the 10-ounce Velcro wrist, so they're similar to our club glove or maybe the Pro one we used to do as well. They're all a 10-ounce Velcro I'm going to show you today. Now these are made in Thailand, as you probably know. They are a leather glove, not a PU. Thai leather is a high quality leather. It's similar to these are the calf skin, actually, carbide, so similar to all the leathers we use anyway. What I will say about Thai leather, it generally feels a little bit thicker than what we use and a little bit drier, mainly because obviously Thailand's a hot, humid country, so it'll probably last longer there. Now, as you can see with these, they're just normal, simple wrap round where the Velcro goes all the way round. Inside they have a typical satin type lining. Put it on. They're pinched. They're all a nice, a very tight fit. What I always find with Thai gloves, Thais are smaller people, aren't they? So they're generally for the fitting inside. I'd probably struggle to get my hand in them with a hand wrap on. But they've got a nice finger compartment. You can move them about. Now, these are what they call a one piece. As you can see, the thumb is attached. It's all one piece of leather. Again, the thumb's very flat, so it's my thumb's squashed that way, not that way, but that way. But they are a nice fit. You feel okay when they're on. And that's basically what they feel like on. Always beautifully made. They are padded here because obviously they're for Thai boxing, and they do have air breather holes. And there's no grip bar. If you'll notice, boxing gloves have a grip bar. So that's basically the outer differences in a Thai glove. Now I'll show you something else. They're much shorter. As you can see, put them next to those, and I stand these up. They're a very short glove. Now this is mainly because, once again, when you put these on, the Thais can grab. That's why there's no grip bar. They can grab, hold. We've got wrist movement, because in Thai boxing you're grabbing using your elbows, your knees, everything else. Like I say, with them being smaller people as well, they're not made for boxing, they're made for Thai boxing. So they're a totally different kind of glove. Whereas you put ours on, the wrists are more supportive. for when you're punching. The other thing I do know about 90% of Thai gloves, specifically this kind and the twins, they're usually injected foam mould, which is this. Not that severe, but the same as like the amateur fight gloves. This obviously is a bigger glove, but that's what's inside. They don't have this bulbous shape, but it's a liquid moulded foam inside as well. That's the other thing with them. So they do tend to blister inside like these do after a while. Obviously they are really well made, but as you can see with that, you don't have the wrist support with a Thai glove. So those people who buy these to go boxing training in, if you're not grabbing, kicking, etc., you haven't got the support in that glove as you're having something like ours at these ones. Also, if you look, I always say that, look at the thickness in the padding. This is a multi-layer, and this is a thin injected moulded foam. So you're not getting a lot of bang for your buck with these. I believe these, alongside twins, they're around they retail £120 a pair now. That's why we don't bother with them anymore. They're perfect for Thai boxing, kickboxing, etc. Not good for boxing. That's the difference. They used to do specific boxing gloves. They do a Mexican style lace-up glove, but they're very small to get your hands in again. And they used to do IABA gloves and headgear. I've not seen them around for a good 10 years. They were good quality, don't get me wrong, all the stuff is brilliantly made of beautiful quality, but again they were very small fitting inside. We had a few pairs over maybe 17, 18 years ago of the IABA approved head guards and gloves, and they were great for kids, because when you get small kids wearing adult size 10-ounce competition gloves, they come up in on them. So the smaller Fairtext glove were a brilliant fit for kids in amateur boxing. Unfortunately, I don't think they do them anymore, and they were good quality, which is a shame. Now the other thing I'll show you with these is, just move that out of the way, they do come up heavy. We'll switch these on. These are marked as a 10-ounce, as you can see. I'll put them on there. And as you can see, they're almost 12 ounces. So it's a heavy 10-ounce glove. If you do prefer a small, short glove, just think on that they are heavy for what they are. Ours probably weigh, I don't know, about 10.4, 10.5. They're always slightly over because of the extra leather on the strap. But to be almost 12 ounces and that small, yeah. But the quality and the longevity, they do last well. You know, this is the only pair we've got in stock for sale. They are brand new. We do get Thai boxers coming in sometimes, so if they prefer something like this, they'll get these. But like I say, they have a vast range of colours, patterns on gloves, styles of gloves, but they're all for Thai boxing mainly. They do a boxing range, but again, they are small fitting. The IABA stuff used to be brilliant, like I say, for kids. Perfect fit, because you know my opinion on IABA gloves that we use here, like the Green Hill, Sting, Adidas. You can't. It's impossible for a small person, young person, to pull a perfect fist for the longevity of a round. So they're punching with open hands. Not good. They're made like that, big and bulbous, for reasons, for economic reasons as well as safety reasons. So yeah. That's why I stay away from injected moulded foam. Liquid poured into a mould, turns into sponge-ish, and it's rubbish. These are slightly different. I would imagine Pakistani made injected moulded foam is not as good as Thai injected moulded foam for a reason, But there you have it. That's this week's Fairtext gloves. As it says, made in Thailand and approved for Thai boxing. I think they do use lace up as well, mostly don't in Thai competitions at the stadiums and all that. But over here, this is what you generally get. Velcro wristed. I do know you get a lot of people go to Thailand to do the Thai coaching course, Thai boxing courses, don't they, and train in the Thai gyms and live in them and etc etc. And they bring them back cheap. They probably only got $50 over there or something, so they bring them back. I do know the guy who's the actual distributor for Fairtext and Twins, and he gets really upset by it because they're not supposed to do it. He has a set price bracket he's got to sell them by, and he's actually a Muay Thai council high up on there, the guy that owns it, MTB. So there you have it. That's Fairtext Thai 10-ounce Velcro boxing gloves, Thai boxing gloves, compared to generally our £50 beautiful calfskin club gloves. Almost 3 times the price, but there you have it. That's all I'm going to have to be able to do this week. Fingers crossed eventually we will get our delivery over with our hybrid gloves and the new club gloves and etc, and we can get back to being normal, showing our stuff, showing it how good it is, brilliant prices, best value for money, although some people disagree with me. Well, they're entitled to their opinion. When they've been doing this as long as I have, then they can have an opinion like mine. I've not even got any boxing to talk about this week. There's no big shows on in this country. I think there's one in Japan, one in Germany. Maybe, I think there's always one in the US somewhere, isn't there? No major shows anyway. After we had them, the one in New York was the Boar Fest, wasn't it? And then the Canelo Skull one was not a great watch either. In a way, brilliant as usual. I think next week we might have a chat about the Dave Allen, Johnny Fisher return. That should be interesting. I've got a friend on the same bill. I think he's boxing for an English Cruiserweight title, Nathan Corliss. Best of luck to him. But I'll talk about that next week before. See where to put your money on if you're a betting man. Please like, subscribe, do all the do think, press the thumbs up, all that. Talk to me, tell me what you think about Thai gloves compared to boxing gloves. Do you agree with me? Do you like them? Do you think they're worth £120 compared to £50? Let me know, let's have a talk. And I'll see you all next week.